Welcome back to our MERN Stack series. Today we're going to be diving into the heart of our social media application, which is post interactions. We'll learn how to make endpoints to create, edit, and delete posts on our social media platform. In our last video, we refactored our code using ExpressRouter. This is what our server.js file looks like, and this is what our entire MERN application looks like at this point in time. We have controllers, we have a separate folder and file for our auth middleware, we have our models in this folder, and then we have our routes using ExpressRouter inside a separate routes folder. Now, in our post routes, we already have the route to create a new post. But what if the user wants to edit one of their already created posts? Let's go ahead and create a new route for that. So we're going to go over here. We can just copy this line, in fact, and we're going to change this to edit. Now, when we're editing a post, we would need to edit one specific post, right? So let's put in the post ID here. And if you remember, the way to send the parameters would be like this. So that would be post ID slash edit. And then in this case, we would want to call the edit post function. Additionally, this is not going to be a post request, but because we're editing some existing data, this would be changed to a put request. Now let's go ahead and create that edit post function inside our post controller. So in our post controllers, define a new function. We can create a named export like we did for the create post, and we're going to make it something like exports.edit post. And then we can just copy out the same syntax here. In fact, the try catch block will be the same as well. We can copy that as well. I'm just copying this in here. And now we can get started. Now the first thing we want to do is actually access that post ID that we put in the request parameters. And we could do that by typing in something like this, rec.params.post ID. You might be wondering, where is this post ID actually going to come from? If we open up our post model right here, we didn't actually define any post ID inside our schema. But if you open up MongoDB, you'll notice that every single one of your documents inside this collection already has an ID. And this is because MongoDB automatically assigns this object ID to every document in a collection. And of course, it's unique for every document in the collection. So we can directly use this inside our code. Back inside post controller, we'll be assuming that the post ID passed to us is the same post ID that is in our MongoDB. And then we can get the title and text from our request body. Lastly, we'll also need to get the username of the user who's trying to make this request, and we can do that by doing something like this. Username equals rec.userdata.username. If you're wondering where this came from, just as a recap, you must remember that the request to this edit post is going to be coming through the auth middleware first. So if we look over here inside our post routes, it's going to call the auth middleware first and then call the edit post function. And inside our auth middleware, we're actually setting the property of the request. We're creating a property of the request object called user data, and we're setting the decoded token inside it, which means that this property is going to have further properties of username, name, etc. So back inside our controller, we're going to use a MongoDB function called find by ID to actually use this post ID, and that would look something like this. So we would do const existing post is equal to, and then we're going to use this async function. Um, and we're going to do post dot find by ID, and then we're going to pass in our post ID. Then we're going to check if the post doesn't exist. So that would be something like this. If the post doesn't exist, if it has a falsy value, we're going to return 404 status would be appropriate, and the JSON message would look something like no such post exists. So we've done the error handling for that. Now we also have to check whether the person who's sending this request is actually the owner of this post. So we have to check if they're authorized to edit the post or not. So we want to check if the existing post dot username, because our post does have a property of username inside it. So we're checking if that existing post dot username is actually equal to the username that we've set here, this username from the rec.userdata. So if this is true, we're gonna allow them to edit the post. Else, we want to return um, a res.status, and the status here would be 403 since this is indicating that they're unauthorized, and the message would be you are not authorized to edit this post. Now inside our editing post block, we go ahead and we can write in the existing post dot title would be equal to the title here if provided from the request body. But what if it's not provided? You could just add an or statement. So if this is false, it would go over to the next statement, and that would be um, the existing post dot title. So what this is saying is basically assign the existing post dot title the value of title. If this is a truthy value, which means if this is not null, we're going to assign it the value of title. If not, we're going to go over and assign it the value of the existing post title, which means that there is essentially no change. We'll do the same thing for the text of the post. So text or existing post dot text. And then we actually want to save this. So let's do await existing post dot save. There we go. All right. And then we want to send back a success message. So that would be return res dot status 200. And then our JSON would include a message. And there we have it. All right. So we could also return the updated post here as well. We could update the updated post, and that would be the existing post that we actually updated. All right, so this is going to make it a little bit easier to see our new update inside our response. And so that is all for the edit post, I believe. Let's go ahead and do the delete post as well. Our delete post endpoint is going to be pretty similar to the edit post one. So we can just go ahead and copy it and paste it down here. Let's just change the name to delete post. And now we don't need to get the title and text anymore from the request body. We'll just need that post ID right here, and this logic will remain the same. Now, instead of editing and updating the post, we'll change this logic. So we could type in something like post equals, and then the post model would call the function of find by ID and delete. And all we have to do is pass in that post ID right here. Now, in case something goes wrong, this might throw an error. So we're going to go ahead and type in if not post. We want to maybe throw a new error. This is just in case of some kind of unexpected error that could occur. And then we could say an error occurred while deleting. But this is an unlikely scenario, so let's just go ahead and change this update message. We could change it to post deleted successfully. And let's just remove this terminal here, get it out of the way. And yes, okay. So the post is deleted successfully, and you're not authorized to delete this post. So that should be all for our delete post endpoint. So let's go over into our post routes. You just copy this and we change this to delete. And over here, we change this type of this request to delete as well. And then this would be delete post. Let's test these endpoints using Thunder Client. Let's go over into the terminal and run our server. Then we're going to go over into Thunder Client, run our login request so we can get that token from there. Let's just copy this token. Then we're going to go over and create a new request. And that would be a put request to our API/posts, but instead of create, we'll type in edit. And in our headers, go over to authorization, type in bearer space, and then the token. And then in the body, we want to have our edited content. Let's just edit the title. So we could just type in something like hello, new title. Okay. And we want to make sure that we're adding out the post ID here because we have to have the post ID in here, right? So for the post ID, let's go over to MongoDB And since our logged in user, so if you remember, this login request was for John Doe 2. So we want to go over and find something that was created by John Doe 2, right? So this is the post title right here. We can copy this object ID, and we're looking to edit this post essentially, right? So we go back into here, and inside our new request, in the post ID, it's paste this ID. So now we have the token of John Doe 2, and we also have the post created by John Doe 2, and we're trying to edit it. So let's send that request. And it says post was updated successfully, and we can also see the updated information. If you open MongoDB and refresh the documents here, we can see the new title being reflected inside our database as well. Let's make sure we save this request, so we can just simply go over into our activity, select this request that we made just now, save to collection, and name this maybe edit post, and select your MERN application collection. Then you should see it inside this window right here. Let's go ahead and test our delete endpoint as well. For that, we can simply go over into activities, select this recent edit one that we just used, and change this to delete. We're going to change this to slash delete. And now we want to select a post that we actually want to delete, right? So I'm going to go over into MongoDB, and in here, I'll just look for the post I wish to delete. So let's suppose I just want to delete this last post. I'm going to go ahead and copy this object ID, and then I'm just going to paste it right here. I've pasted it right here, and we don't need the request body here. We have our updated token in the headers. Let's send this. All right, it says the JWT expired. I think I haven't pasted the correct JWT here. We can simply go over into our login route, copy this again, back in here, replace this token, click on send, and it says post deleted successfully. If we go back into our MongoDB and refresh our collection, we'll see that we have now 4 documents inside this collection, and the last one is indeed missing because this was duplicated in the last time when we checked. Don't forget to go ahead and save this endpoint as well. So we just want to go over, save to collection, and follow the same steps as before. And now we can close these tabs safely without having to worry about losing our progress. So that is all for today. I hope this video was useful, and stay tuned for the next video in which we'll be looking at how to add comments and likes and saves to our social media application. So stay tuned and happy coding.